Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Comic Book Cove. I'm Tom Morris.
And I'm Josh Holderbaum.
And Josh, we've got finally some answers to questions that we've been kind of wondering all along is, who is Godspeed?
Yeah. And I'm kind of a little ashamed to say that reading that issue, my mind was saying, I knew it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in this issue episode, same thing. In this episode, we're going to review the following titles. The Hellblazer number 1, Batgirl number 2, Deathstroke number 1, Titans number 2, and then we're going to wrap up with The Flash number 5 and number 6. Spoilers are definitely ahead in this episode of Comic Book Cove. The Hellblazer number 1, The Poison Truth Part 1. One of the questions that we had when we were reading the Hellblazer Rebirth is, what is the relationship between the Swamp Thing and John Constantine? And in this issue, we get some backstory of why Swamp Thing went to bat against the Justice League for Constantine.
Yeah, and it's essentially a continuation of their relationship in the the Vertigo Swamp Thing comics, which is that it's hard to call them friends. I mean, they're very, very different people. I mean, Constantine's sort of the con man. Swamp Thing's a nice guy at heart.
Yes.
I mean, he's a big, scary plant person, but he's a nice guy. And they do touch on some of the previous interactions they've had. Is when Swamp Thing was looking to have a child with Abby Holland, he called on Constantine for that. And that was what Constantine was afraid he was back for.
Right.
Like, oh no. Essentially, prior to Constantine going back to London, Swamp Thing had approached him looking for Abby.
Right.
Abby is gone. He can't find her in the Green. He can't find her in the Rot. The Rot being sort of the real world. The Green being all the plant life.
Okay.
I mean, he can teleport anywhere in the world. He can sort of sense things through the Green. He can't find her anywhere, so he calls on Constantine.
Which was kind of weird, seeing the Swamp Thing kind of manifest itself in produce.
That was cool. That was really cool. And it's really neat when Constantine sort of looks out of the corner of his eye. Here's Swamp Thing's head in produce, and he looks back and says, how long have you had those melons checked? I mean, how long have they been out? He thinks he's hallucinating that, but no, it's just Swamp Thing trying to get a hold of that. And before that too, he popped up in one of Constantine's friends' greenhouses. Just here's Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Hey, he's got to get in touch with him somehow, and it just so happens he looks a little odd when he does it. But
just a little.
I thought it was super,
cool,
super cool.
But it was very odd.
Yeah.
Don't buy produce from that store.
I can especially see Swamp Thing saying that in a really serious, ominous voice, and he's just a melon. It would.
That was strange. But it was very cool.
Yeah.
And so Constantine helps the Swamp Thing by taking them while Swamp Thing is kind of in he brings them in a plant.
Yeah.
Transfers his essence into some plants, potted plants, and introduces them to the telepath, not psychopath. Constantine's a psychopath. Telepath Mercury. Why? And when they do, Mercury wants Constantine's head. Like anyone that wants to fight Constantine, that knows John Constantine, really wants to beat him, fight him has a grudge, has issues with him. But as soon as Swamp Thing gets out, Mercury is just mesmerized by Swamp Thing.
Yeah. It seems like she's sort of a fan of Swamp Thing, which is exactly what I would do if I met Swamp Thing. Is I'd just go up to him, and it's a completely different relationship because now here's a guy who isn't like Constantine. He's not just going to use her and to save his own skin. He's out for a greater purpose. Right.
What do you think it's going to lead into? Maybe eventually they'll keep Swamp Thing into these issues and spin him off into his own series?
I'm hoping so. I mean, I've always considered him kind of, maybe not a major DC player, but when it comes to sort of the occult side of DC
Right.
Comics. I think he's certainly one of the major players on that side. I mean, he was on Justice League Dark too. He was in the New 52. He was one of the the heavy hitters on that team. I'd like to see him on his own series,
Right.
and that would be smart to do that and let Constantine do his own thing.
What did you think of the very beginning of this issue? We saw a flashback with two brothers, and they appear to be some type of fallen angels that look over humanity.
Or some sort of supernatural something.
Yes.
And when it first starts out, they're in Sarajevo. It's when Archduke Franz Ferdinand gets shot and plunges the world into World War I, and the one is trying to tell his brother not to intervene,
Right.
to not stop them. That this is sort of something humanity has to go through. And then, of course, the Duke gets shot. Constantine gives a little monologue on what happened for the rest of since then with World War II and where we are now. And then in the present day, the brothers reunite. The one looks a heck of a lot older than he did.
Yes.
The one, Mareed, who was the one who wanted to intervene, looks exactly the same. And Mareed turns on his brother because he feels that was the wrong thing to do.
Yep.
He comes to the conclusion that apparently they were put here to help guide humanity. And he's come to the conclusion that if humanity is brutal enough to not only instigate that war, but to then carry it on, maybe humanity needs to be ruled. They need to be led with, I think, what he called a firm hand.
Yes.
On that. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. I'm assuming they're going to be Constantine's going to be drawn into this somehow. I don't know how that's going to happen.
Exactly.
These Constantine comics, between this and Hellblazer Rebirth, kind of leave me guessing, like, okay, where do we go from here?
I think these are issues that you need to have 2 or 3, 4 of them, because the stories are decent, but you're kind of wondering, all right, there is a bigger overall arcing plot, and we have to just kind of wait and see where they go. Right now we're getting the pieces set onto the board, and it's not, because Constantine is not a very likable character, so we're going to see a lot of his frenemies, if you want to call that term, a lot of frenemies, while we're also seeing a lot of the true bad guys being brought in. So I think this is a series that we'll need a few issues in and have to read the story arc all at once to say, that makes sense why they did that.
Yeah.
Until then, I'm still going to see Swamp Thing. I hope I don't go to produce and I'm picking up an apple and all of a sudden Swamp Thing is, hey, we got to talk. That would freak me out.
Yeah. He wouldn't say, hey, we're going to talk. He'd say, hey, we need to talk. I mean, that's exactly how I would picture him doing that. Yeah.
So let's get a few more issues into Constantine, and let's see where the story goes. But right now, it's interesting. It is an interesting series. Batgirl number 2, Beyond Burnside, Part 2.
Well, Batgirl's little world tour with Kai has moved them to Singapore now, as in the last issue, she was trying to find this kind of assassin schoolgirl, and the Fruit Bat told her to look for someone named Teacher, which wasn't really clear if that was a teacher or a person named Teacher, and then she ran smack dab into a mixed martial arts billboard and said, let's go to Singapore.
Right.
and go to the mixed martial arts world, which is kind of the most ADHD moment I've seen Barbara Gordon have. But
yes.
Yeah, and she's in Singapore, and she recollects on this assassin scroll girl who doesn't have any name yet, and she realizes that she had a tattoo on her inner arm, which said student. So she's thinking maybe this teacher that the Fruit Bat meant, maybe that is an actual person. I mean, if this is a student, maybe there's a teacher out there too.
Yes.
And she's still pretty sure that mixed martial arts holds the key to that.
Yes. Yeah, so that she goes. And as Barbara Gordon, her and Kai are kind of developing a relationship, even though she knows Kai is kind of into some shady business with some data services that might not be on the up and up. because he calls it a gray area, and has access to a lot of money as they get into that one hotel with a nice view.
Yeah.
She's starting to fall for this guy, kind of against her better judgment.
Yeah. She keeps reminding herself that Kai is trouble.
Yes.
And she does kind of try to break it off with him, saying, I know you're leaving tomorrow. I'm here for another week. Sorry, nice to see you. And Kai immediately says, calls up his dad, says, I'm actually going to be late. I'm going to be delayed in Singapore for, another week. So it's sort of like she almost can't get out of this right now. But at the same time, you'd also kind of think that as Barbara Gordon, she wouldn't necessarily want Kai to go off.
Right.
Considering he was just attacked by a homicidal face paint wearing schoolgirl in Japan.
Yeah. When Barbara goes to the Mixed Martial Artists Center, when she signs up, her teacher is also from Gotham, so she has to make up a name so she isn't known, because I imagine Gordon would be a well-known name in Gotham.
Probably.
And she's one of the best fighters, combat hand-to-hand, but during the martial art, the MMA, she doesn't seem to be holding her own too much. Do you think she's holding back, or do you think she's...
That's hard to say, because she even mentions to her trainer that she's taken judo and eskrima and all these martial arts. She hangs out with Batman and Nightwing and guys like that, and it does make me think maybe she is holding back. Maybe she's trying to fight not as Batgirl.
Right.
Maybe they've kind of established the Batgirl isn't that great of a fighter. Maybe she does focus more on brain power. Yes. And, using the thinking and the eidetic memory and things like that. But as it turns out, the sort of non sequitur detour to Singapore pays off, that she gets into an MMA match with a very scary looking woman who's nicknamed the Moth. Yes, because she flutters in and out of kicks and punches, and she notices that this gal has the same tattoo of student on her arm as the schoolgirl in Japan did, and right then she gets kicked in the face and knocked out. Yeah.
Boom, out for the count. You counter, she's out.
It does sort of make me wonder if Bruce Wayne went into mixed martial arts, would he do better? He's one of the top martial artists in all of comic books, and I have a hard time picturing him getting knocked out by some guy in shorts who might do that for a living, but so does Batman.
But there might be a difference between actual combat in the ring and combat out in the street.
Perhaps, yeah.
There might be, and that's why maybe Barbara, and then she did get distracted and got kicked, but she was over-analyzing the fight, it seems. So I think this martial artist might be another student, so each student's going to lead to the teacher, but you bring up a good point. Is she purposely hold back? I don't think so when she gets to the fight. And when she actually was getting trained, she was ow, 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 sore, sore, sore. So she was getting trained in ways she never had before. Yeah. Interesting that there's always something new to learn for Batgirl.
Yeah. And you're right, maybe it isn't, I suppose when you're fighting in alleys and on rooftops, you're doing it real fast. You're taking down guys real quickly. Sort of dispatching them as quickly as you can. In mixed martial arts, you wouldn't necessarily do that, because you also want to respect the opponent.
Exactly.
Too. You don't just want to take them down and knock their lights out right off the bat. That's not very nice.
No. Where do you think Batgirl goes?
Well, it looks like from the end teaser included the word Seoul. Seoul as in South Korea. So it looks like she's country hopping again. Probably dragging Kai along. Hopefully she's conscious going there. But I'm curious to see where these, this student-teacher organization thing goes. Right. Because it is. She identifies it as Chinese lettering. Yeah. There's a shared culture of Chinese, from Japan and Korea and China itself. So I'm wondering if it ends up in China or maybe it ends up somewhere else. But either way, that would be the route they'd take. So we'll see.
Let's touch on something. Batgirl has appeared so far in Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, and Nightwing. And she's staying pretty true to who she is, characterization throughout the series. I thought it was very interesting that they've kept the cohesiveness between that character kind of throughout, and it's tying into issues here and there in
Yeah.
the series.
Yeah, because they did mention in Nightwing she's in Japan.
Yes.
It's also worth noting when she's in Japan in Batgirl #1, she's in Okinawa.
Mm-hmm.
When she's calling Nightwing in Nightwing's issue, she's in Tokyo.
Right.
That's nowhere near one another.
That's true.
I mean, that's like about as far away in Japan as you can be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, you're in the same country, you're not quite in the same place, but we can also say maybe she flew to Tokyo first, then flew to Okinawa. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
It's a big sightseeing tour for her. So
Yeah, Batgirl, world
knows?
traveler.
Yeah.
She's getting her frequent flyer bat miles.
yeah, globe-trotting, definitely.
And we'll see what happens with Batgirl in the next few issues, and we'll see if she truly does get these skills that she needs to learn to become a better crime fighter. Mentally, I would say that she is one of the top brains in the DC universe.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
And we'll definitely see where Batgirl goes in the issues to come. We're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to discuss Deathstroke #1 and Titans #2. We'll be right back.